Happy Sabbath, everyone. Welcome to our Cerritos Bible study on Friday. Especially, I believe we do have two new guests in our Bible study, especially for Loma Linda group. Everyone who had a special dinner today from parents of a Hong family. I adore you. I envy you. I do everything. So good for you. Good for you. And I also welcome the two parents, the adults. I hope to see you tomorrow. But welcome to our Cerritos worship. It's our 26th time of Genesis. It's going to be from Genesis 25 to 33. Chapter 25 to 33, which are all the chapters we have covered so far. Right? As I was wrapping up the story of Jacob's life story, I get to see some of the similarities between Jacob's life and our life stories. They are pretty much similar. Well, Jacob he was born in a rich family, and he had to nourish a lot of things, many things from his own life, which is just like us. Um, we were born as a good family, happy family, and we got to nourish and we got to cherish every moment in our life. But at a point, just like Jacob's life, 10 years maybe, or 20 years, or sometimes maybe entire life, our life has been enslaved into a sin. And maybe there were times also we were trying to go back to life, or we were trying to go back to the Holy Land, which is the land of the Jesus Christ, um, the day of repentance, the day of going back, just like how Jacob was trying to go back to his homeland of Canaan. Well, even that was not that easy for Jacob. There were few quotes that I was studying about Jacob's life. It was from Ellen White from Patriarchs and Prophets. It says, Jacob's experience during that night of wrestling and anguish represents the trial through which the people of God must pass just before Christ's second coming. The prophet Jeremiah, in Holy Vision, looking down to this time, said, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. All faces are turned into a paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that no one is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Since I was very young, I always heard about, since we were an Adventist, I always heard about the second Adventist. Second Adventist. I'm sorry, second Advent that was going to take place years later. My parents were always telling me how it's going to be like when Jesus is coming again. And there was always this phrase that my mom was quoting from, and that was Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble. When it is due, Jacob's trouble is going to take place, and all of us have to flee from our home, let go of our belongings, and just to flee to the mountains and to out of the cities. Well, it is true that the Jacob's trouble is going to take place, as Prophet Jeremiah said. Jacob's trouble would be the biggest adversity or biggest trouble we are going to face before the second coming is taking place. But personally, for me, because it was so much of a fear that I would never want to face it in my life, I always thought that Jacob's trouble would be the future thing, and nothing related to my current situation or my current life. But Ellen White goes on and she talks about this Jacob's trouble. She says, when Christ shall cease his work as a mediator in man's behalf, then this time of trouble will begin, that the case of every soul will have been decided, and there will be no atoning blood to cleanse from sin. When Jesus leaves his position as man's intercessor before God, the solemn announcement is made, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Then the restraining spirit of God is withdrawn from the earth, as Jacob was threatened with death by his angry brother. So the people of God will be in peril from the wicked who are seeking to destroy them. And as the patriarch wrestled all night from deliverance from the hand of Esau, so the righteous will cry to God day and night for deliverance from the enemies that surrounded them. Bible clearly says to my curiosity regarding Jacob's trouble, clearly says Jacob's trouble, the moment when Jacob was wrestling with God, is not a moment in the future, but it is related to our current life. As Revelation 22 says, let anyone who is unjust will be unjust on the last days. Who is filthy will be filthy on the last day for sure. Who is holy and righteous will be constantly righteous and holy. So the day of Jacob's trouble, more of the second coming and our deliverance, our salvation will be decided on how I am living my life today. It matters a lot. What should we learn from Jacob's life as we wrap up our story of Jacob? What should we learn? What do we have to look into it so that we can at least get something out of that? What kind of mindset did Jacob have after living 20 years as a slave in his Laban's house? I imagine Jacob was having that one mindset that he has to come back to his homeland, Canaan, the land of the Lord. How does that relate to us today? There's one of my favorite quotes for an SDA Adventist. It says that as an SDA Adventist, we should live today as if it is our last day before the second coming, as if Jesus is coming today. But if that doesn't take place, we should still prepare to live tomorrow. What kind of lifestyle and what kind of mindset do we have facing toward the Jacob's trouble and the second coming? Are we really ready? And are we really wanting to face the times? What can we learn from Jacob's life today? I want to close Jacob's life story with your own life story. When you go to the digging deeper questions, it is going to ask you what part of the life story of Jacob relates you the most. And I want you to think about your own life story. What stage am I at right now? Just like how Jacob was living his life. Am I going back to the Holy Land? Or am I wanting to go back to the Holy Land? Or am I wrestling with God today? Or am I wrestling with Satan today? What level and what stage are you at right now? And how do you relate with your own testimony? I do not want myself to be the one who gives you or forces you the lesson, like the life lesson from Jacob. I want you to be the one who willingly get the lesson for yourself. So I want you to share that little testimony with others as well. So from Genesis chapter 25 to 33, and even goes on to 35, 36, it talks about how Jacob was successfully residing in the land of Canaan again after that 20 years. And as an Adventist, as in Christians, I hope and I pray that all of us would be the one who successfully lands in the land of heaven. I welcome you again to our Savior's worship. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Your week, I pray, has been blessed, but your Sabbath will be more blessed out of all. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.